With the increasing use of media among all demographics, but especially youth, there's been a lot of questions as to how the themes of this media affect those using it. I'm Eli Tripp, a student at University of Wisconsin-Eau Claire, and I'm here to answer this question. First, I've come here to talk to Victoria Dahlman, a music major at the University of Wisconsin-Eau Claire, and I'm hoping to find some insight as to what kind of music you listen to affects your personality and behavior.
According to the article Sex, Violence, and Rock and Roll, the type of music we listen to can directly impact the way we act, especially during our adolescent years.
Interesting. How would that work exactly?
Well, in the article, behavioral psychologist Sarah Coyne detailed to try and examine the links between music and behavior. In the experiment, a group of adolescents are given questionnaires on the type of music they listen to, as well as questionnaires that measured their overall levels of aggression or prosocial behavior. After examining these questionnaires, researchers found that those adolescents who reported to listening to mostly rap or heavy metal music genres specifically featuring explicit language, we most highly linked that with higher levels of aggression and lower levels of prosocial behavior.
So what you're saying is that by listening to music featuring explicit language and scenarios, you're more likely to be at a high risk of aggressive behavior?
We see these patterns not only in music, but also in other areas as well.
Thank you, Victoria. Fascinating stuff. Speaking of other forms of media, let's catch up on avid video game player Nick Johnson to see how violence portrayed in video games can affect the younger generation. Hey Nick, thanks for meeting with me today. I was wondering what kind of video games are popular with the young generation these days?
At this point in time, the most popular games such as Call of Duty, Red Dead Redemption, Fortnite, and Grand Theft Auto all have to do with violence or death or killing in some ways.
Yeah, I've definitely noticed that. Why do you think these games are so popular nowadays?
I believe that these kids are playing these games because they are some of the most popular games overall. Kids want to play these games because they want to play the games with their friends, since their friends are also playing the games.
Makes sense. So, with all these kids playing these games at such a young age, do you think this is going to have any negative effects on them?
I'm glad you asked that, Eli. In fact, the American Psychological Association has done a study that shows exposure to violent video games has led to an increase in aggressive behavior, thoughts, and emotions.
So, does the rating and the age at which you play a certain game play a major role in this?
Yes, the games are giving a rating for a reason. There is E for everyone, E10 plus, which is everyone 10 and older, T for teenagers, which are 13 and older, M for mature, which is 17 and older, and adult, which is 18 and older. So if you go to a store to buy the game, you must be at least this old to buy the game. But like I said before, the games are able to be purchased online nowadays where the age isn't necessarily specified. I actually have first-hand experience when it comes to adolescence and video games. I have a 13-year-old brother who with his friends plays games like Fortnite and GTA, which aren't necessarily for his age. I have also seen that within him more aggressive behaviors and yelling comes out anytime my parents tell him to stop playing games or if he gets into an argument. He can even get aggressive with my little sister sometimes, and he constantly swears.
Finally, I've come to talk to Taylor about the broad use of media. So how do you say the maturity level of the content you consume affects your behavior?
Well, Eli, as we've seen earlier on, there are many examples of research that prove violent and explicit content in things like music and video games can lead to an increase in aggressive behavior as well as an increase in the desensitization to violent behavior. According to an article written by psychologist Caroline Fitzpatrick, cutting out these violent video games from younger kids is the only way to stop them from growing into such aggressive adults. Fitzpatrick describes an experiment in which a group of preschoolers who have already started consuming this violent media are shown educational programming instead of the violence for 6 months and then are studied to see if their behavior improves.
And what was the result of this experiment?
The results of this experiment found that when replacing children's violent content with educational programming, the behavior seemed to improve. In addition, the children were seen to be more social and interactive with others. In other words, by decreasing the level of violent content the children consumed, the children became less anxious and withdrawn and more social and composed.
So because there is this direct correlation, do you think there's any way that we can stop this increase in violence and aggression?
I hate to sound pessimistic, but at this point, I don't see things getting any better if there aren't restrictions placed on these media companies. As someone with younger siblings, I've seen them consume media that are probably way too mature for them to be listening to or watching, but it's become so normal for these kids that no one, including the parents, question it. I'm just interested to see if things will get worse before they get better.